At the start of the Afghan war, the readiness of the Canadian forces was higher than it is now. There's no doubt about that. Now, the armed forces was smaller, it had less money, and as well, they had quite a string of UN and NATO operations under the belt, which built experience. But the actual procurement system during the Afghan war, you ready for this? It was superb. It was outstanding. In a period of about 4 months, we bought enormous C-17 aircraft. In a period of 5 or 6 months, we initiated the procurement program for the Leopard tanks, and we got the first ones over there within a year. We bought 777 guns, of which we've sent a paltry 4 to help the Ukraine. We bought those guns on a handshake with the United States Marine Corps in a period of weeks. We bought new weapon systems for the soldiers, new protective vehicles to better assist them in defeating the mine measures and the IEDs. We bought them ballistic protection. We bought them new type of helmets, and the list goes on. Target acquisition radars. We bought new helicopters. My point is that the system works when 3 things happen. 1, when cabinet is seized of the issue. If the federal cabinet believes it's important, then by golly, things can move quickly. Let's not forget that the success of the procurement system during the Afghan war was done by both a liberal government and a conservative government. And quite frankly, the ministers involved were superb in telling their departments what to do, to stop creating delays and to get on with it. So what do you need for success? A cabinet that is dedicated to the issue and understands it, is willing to learn, is willing to take a bit of risk. Why are they taking risks? Because the issue is so important. The second thing you need is a public service who will actually get done that which the government wants it to do. And in this case, both the Liberal and the Conservative leadership made very sure that the public servants' usual tendency toward creating obstacles to defense procurement, that was diminished or eliminated. And the third thing you have to do is you have to get an aware public who actually sees and understands the value of what their government is doing and who's involved, emotionally involved. And I don't see that. So what happened during the Afghan war was outstanding, and it just shows the procurement system can work. If the federal government pays attention, the public service gets on side and does what they're told, assuming the government tells them to do that. The third thing is that the Canadian public pay more attention to the state of equipping their armed forces and their state of readiness. And all 3 of those issues are absent right now. But it can work. By golly, we've seen it happen. At the commencement and duration of the initial period of Canada's participation in Afghanistan, really between 2003 and 2011, the Canadian Armed Forces was in a similar state of low readiness as which it is now. A conservative government and a liberal government, in equal measure, stepped up to the plate. They directed and gave firm, specific instructions to the public service to comply with acquiring the defense capabilities that Canada needed. And the Canadian people were thankful and responsive and supportive. Right now, we have a much more dangerous war with Russia rampaging across portions of Europe. The ripple effect from the Russia-Ukraine war is far greater than the consequences and the ripple effect of that which went on in Afghanistan. Literally, the Ukraine is fighting NATO's fight right now. I'm not suggesting that NATO go in because that would trigger a nuclear response potentially from Putin, but we have to stop Russia. And the we involves the Ukraine, but we have to support them. And we have to be there in case the worst happens. Plan for the worst case, hope for the best. Any government's principal duty are to keep their citizens safe. And it's not only safe today, it's safe tomorrow. Canada has a much greater role to play in the world. We're a G7 nation. Our GDP is larger than Russia's. We have less than 35 soldiers deployed on UN operations right now. We used to have thousands with a much smaller armed forces. Our readiness, the state of our equipment is as bad as I've ever seen it. And this is because the government has not been paying attention to the Department of National Defense and how they can contribute to better make sure that their armed forces are better able to serve and protect our friends and allies, and as well as Canada. Let's talk about investment in defense capabilities or surveillance capabilities so we can know what's going on in the north and better assist in stopping possible incursions by Russia, who could start drilling in our pristine waters. None of that has happened yet. So I think it's time that Canada stepped up to the plate.